Hello and welcome. Welcome to Cutting Edge, the show at the very intersection of geopolitics, strategy, and defense and aerospace. Today we have Ambassador Ashok K Kantha, the Ambassador of India to Beijing till as late as January 2016 before the Doklam and then thereafter the Galwan clashes. He's been the High Commissioner to Sri Lanka. He's been the High Commissioner to Malaysia, Consul General in Hong Kong, and he's had 3 tenures in China as we speak today, before the meeting of our Honorable Prime Minister along with Xi Jinping on the sidelines of Tianjin's SCO Summit. Welcome, sir. What a pleasure it is to welcome you onto the show, sir. And I think we'll take your sage advice and see what exactly needs to be coming out of these meetings.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. Right, sir, to begin with, if we look at the timelines post-Galwan, post-2020, we have seen the Prime Minister meeting Xi Jinping in 2022. Then he met him in 2023 in Johannesburg. In 2024, of course, there was a little perceived thaw, as we could make out, in Kazan. And now he meets again, this time in Tianjin, in the SCO Summit. So do you think, sir, there are some tangible things which are likely to now come out in spite of all these pain points that we have with China?
What you're witnessing, especially since Prime Minister's meeting with President Xi Jinping in Kazan on 23rd October last year, there is a process of gradual improvement of relations. India-China relations, as you're aware, had gone through a very rough patch,
Absolutely.
Especially after Chinese transgressions in eastern Ladakh in summer of 2020. It took us a very long time to get over that hump.
Correct.
We maintained the position that unless border areas return to normalcy, it's very difficult for us to have normal relations. Disengagement was more or less completed by October last year. Prime Minister's meeting with President Xi led to beginning of process re-engagement,
right,
of rebuilding of relations. And that has progressed since then. Our focus has been more on what we call people-centric contacts. There have been high-level exchanges. Most recently, we had Foreign Minister Wang Yi of China visiting India, and he had a very substantive visit to India. Earlier, in context of SCO, we had visits of our Defense Minister, our Minister of External Affairs, and National Security Advisor to China, as also a Foreign Secretary earlier to Beijing. Now, it's a process we expect will be carried forward, further advanced, when Prime Minister meets with President Xi in Tianjin on the margins of SCO Summit. But let's bear in mind a couple of facts. One, that it's not a bilateral visit.
Of course.
It's a summit-level meeting, but it's on the margins of a multilateral event. And two, there are certain objective realities in India-China relations today, which will condition outcomes we can expect.
Absolutely.
So we need to moderate our expectations from this meeting, because we are still some distance away from full normalization of relations with India and China.
True, absolutely. And one keeps reading Ambassador Kantha. He speaks a very, very important phrase called strategic patience. I think will play it out the way it has to, sir, possibly before this meeting possibly takes place. But you've been in China in 3 tenures. I mean, you've had 3 major tenures in China, including the Indian ambassador in Beijing. And your predecessor was the current foreign minister, that is Mr. Jaishankar. So you've had some great insights into how China actually functions, sir. But now you see, sir, the entire calculus seems to be a little changing. As you look at it, 2025 has been quite a watershed year in international relations, and you find now the Prime Minister meeting Xi Jinping. Thereafter, he's scheduled to meet Vladimir Putin. And if all goes well, and there's a Quad summit, if at all it happens in the current imbroglio, you will find Donald Trump also getting in here. So do you think, sir, there's going to be a very major upheaval of things in times to come? And how is it going to be affecting the Indian foreign policy?
Well, there's no doubt about the fact that we are living through a reordering moment
Oh, yes.
in global landscape. There were some important changes that were taking place even earlier, but in second Trump administration, those changes have been accelerated.
Yes.
He has proved to be a disruptive personality. So we are faced with a world which is turbulent. We are faced with a strategic partnership with USA, which was progressing quite steadily
Very steady.
for nearly quarter of a century.
Correct, sir.
And now there are serious question marks about the future trajectory
You
of
feel
this
so, sir?
relationship. Yes,
You feel so?
because what we see number of negative signals emanating from Washington DC on a whole lot of issue.
Okay.
It's not just a question of tariffs, where what President Trump has done is unreasonable. Both tariff of 25% and the proposed penal tariff of another 25% because we buy
Russian
oil from Russia. It's not only that, signals we received on Pakistan during 4-day conflict with that country in context of OP SINDOOR, and also China, because while we don't wish to look at our relations with USA through prism of China or with China through prism of USA, the fact remains that these critical relationships are influenced by changing global landscape and geopolitical environment.
But not very based on personality, so to say, sir?
Well, personalities do play a role.
Okay.
As you can see in case of Mr. Trump, personality has played a very important role. What we're looking at are not so much changes driven by US establishment, but disruptions caused by Mr. Trump himself.
Oh, yes.
So you have that element of uncertainty which is there. Then, of course, China, we discussed earlier that we are going through a period of rebuilding of relations. But there again, we can discuss that further. But there are major challenges that need to be addressed. Even borders are not normal.
No.
So you are fully familiar with the state of borders. We have high level of deployment along India-China borders. And in some way, there is unfinished business of disengagement.
Oh, yes.
Because buffer zones are there. Some areas are patrol service were visiting earlier. They're unable to access. Our herdsmen are unable to go back to pastures they're going to earlier. Plus a whole lot of other issues. We can come to that later. Russia relations have been relatively stable. And we are expecting, President Putin to visit India later this year. And as part of preparations that visit, we had, recent visits of both our Minister of External Affairs, Dr. Jaishankar, and National Security Advisor, Mr. Doval. So what we are trying to do is to juggle with a difficult situation. What is needed now, I'll say, one, what you referred to earlier, strategic patience is required.
Yes.
when situation flux, you don't go for tactical maneuverings. You keep in mind your basic interests. That requires strategic clarity.
Yes.
So
That takes time.
Yes, it's very important to have clarity. And third is strategic autonomy.
Okay.
You need to, sort of see what is in your interest. Will be subjected to pulls and pressures
Of course.
from different quarters, as is happening now. How do you advance your interests, keeping in mind a somewhat longer term time horizon,
Okay.
rather than
and how much
quick
would you
fix solutions?
Possibly, how much would be this time horizon?
It's very, very,
would
very
be, sir?
difficult to say that.
Very difficult.
Because you can't control
Yes.
behavior of other side.
Of course.
For instance, let's talk about USA, for instance. It's an essential partnership for us.
Very deep.
Yes, and it's a essential partnership not only for navigating a very complex geopolitical environment, but also as a factor in our advancement towards the objective Viksit Bharat by 2047. It's the largest market in the world. It's the most important source of technology in
Absolutely.
the world. So we need to bring that relationship back to a more normal track.
Okay.
How long that will take, I don't know. But that objective should be borne in mind. We can likewise discuss about China later if you like. Yeah.
But then, I think I think it should transcend personalities as I look at it, sir. And then there are those midterm elections which are there in next November. So there's a lot of play which is happening insofar as the United States is concerned. But my question to you, sir, at this juncture, as we speak, like you've spoken about strategic patience, and all our viewers must read Ambassador Kantha's columns in Vivekananda International Foundation on strategic patience. I think they're outstanding. You must read them. Give you a great perspective as to how things are panning out. But either way, sir, when you look at it, do you think, like you've been in Beijing for so long, do you think this, New Delhi, Moscow, Beijing axis can be a reality one day? Is it possible or not possible?
I don't think, we are heading towards any kind of axis involving these three countries.
Right.
Yes, I mean, there is RIC forum, which has met earlier even at summit level. Somewhere down the road, there may be resumption of contacts at that level. I have been part of RIC process, both at track 1 level and track 2 level. I have seen that, it's a triangle where one arm is short and weak.
Okay.
And that is India-China relationship.
Okay.
Where India has, good relations with Russia. Russia has good relations with India, with China. But when it comes to our relations with China, there is still a serious deficit, which makes it difficult for us to find, robust agenda based on convergence of interests.
Yes, absolutely.
And so RIC as a dialogue forum may be useful, but as a platform for developing common positions, I doubt it. And there is another significant problem. Russia and China, they have moved much closer in recent years. Their strategic engagement always has an anti-Western sort of complexion to it.
Yes, there's a tinge.
Now, for us, that's not part of our agenda. We are not anti-Western. No, we have excellent relations with Western countries, notwithstanding current difficulties we are facing with the USA. So we don't want to be part of such a sort of approach, which can be predicated on sending out anti-Western signals.
Yes.
So it has its limitations.
Of course. Of course. So then, let me now segue, sir, since you've been a part of RIC. You in a nutshell, you've just told us how it could pan out. But then let's go to BRICS. Now, BRICS, there's a school of thought that President Trump says that he's a little rattled by BRICS. There's a talk of de-dollarisation. Incidentally, if you look at all the 5 currencies of the BRICS, it all start with an R's. It's all currencies, start with a R. It's strange, but that's the way it is. But do you think when you're looking at BRICS, and BRICS as a counterbalance to whatever is happening today, and you have the currencies, and you have the talent, and you have the geographies, and you have the economics heft of these 5 countries together vis-a-vis the rest. If that ever happens and China takes that pole position into that, do you think this, in case it works out, calls for an Asian unity and the global South unity against the others? Is it possible? Not possible, sir.
Anurag, India has not quite looked at BRICS as a strategic platform.
Okay.
And will definitely not be interested in China taking the pole position there.
Of course.
Dominating BRICS. BRICS has been useful in terms of certain practical initiatives it has taken. For instance, New Development Bank, BRICS Bank, that was an Indian initiative, in fact.
Oh, really,
we took the initiative.
Okay.
And finally, it gained traction, and it was established in Shanghai when I was there, in fact. And first president was Mr. Kamath from India.
But can it be a counterbalance to the Bretton Woods twins at some stage in time?
But see, these are supplementary. You need various sources of funding, and World Bank or ADB, they're not enough. So there was room for New Development Bank, which came up. You have contingent reserve arrangements. That's also a useful mechanism.
Yes.
But there are aspects of BRICS we were not very comfortable with, like the way expansion of the organization was carried out. India would have preferred a criteria-based, expansion, which would have been more deliberate. But China forced the pace.
Of course.
And so they are all friendly countries who have come, so we didn't want to oppose them. But to some extent, cohesiveness and effectiveness of BRICS as a platform has been diluted.
Okay.
So that's one. Secondly, we'll always be mindful that it's not hijacked by country X or country Y.
That's the point. That's the point.
So it has its limitations. Thirdly, we are not comfortable with initiatives like, BRICS currency.
Okay.
It's not pragmatic. It's not a realistic proposition.
Right.
We are not pursuing agenda of de-dollarisation. We have clarified that. So we are there in BRICS as a major stakeholder, but we wish to maintain a degree of stability in the outfit and see that
it doesn't
go
the
off the
cart.
tangent.
Yes, of course. Sir. So, but sir, you've been there, and when you left, you had these grave issues of Doklam first in 2017, and then Galwan happened in 2020. Now, interestingly, sir, in spite of these border issues and in spite of these great clashes, which got flashed out by the international media, spiraled the relationships beyond repair in some manner or the other, there was no major implication on trades. It is surprising. But the only implication is that the the reciprocal investments of India and China and India have not grown as much, in spite of the trade, which has not taken a very big hit. What are the reasons, do you think, which is behind this?
Well, first, trade. Why is that? Trade has continued to expand, even when our political relations were
Very
uh,
low.
doing rather badly,
Yes.
going through a very rough patch. Imports from China are essentially sticky imports.
Okay.
These are goods that we need. China is able to provide them at a competitive rate.
Okay.
So, Indian business, we are a free economy. Indian business, finds it useful to source from China, and there were no restriction on sourcing from China. That has continued, except in certain areas where where there are security interests,
Which,
like
of course,
telecom
yes,
equipment.
that's all over the world.
Yeah,
I
all
think,
over the
no,
world.
That's
So
all right.
the government of India did not interfere with the normal process of development of
Right.
trade. One can't say the same thing about our exports to China.
Correct.
Because goods and services where we were globally competitive, we have been unable to make any dent whatsoever in Chinese market.
Chinese market, yes.
For instance, I'm referring to pharmaceutical products. We are known as pharmacy of the world, but not for China.
Mhm.
We can't. Very difficult to sell anything there. Likewise, you're aware of our strength in area of IT.
But why is it, sir?
We have presence of our IT majors in China for a long time now.
Very.
All major companies are present.
Everybody's
You
there.
have TCS, Infosys, Wipro, you name
everyone.
it.
Yes.
But they have not been able to get any meaningful entry into domestic market.
Okay.
Because there are all kind of restrictions that have continued. They have shown perseverance. Often they service other markets from China.
Correct.
Japanese market, for instance. So I'm just giving these two examples.
So will it always remain this one-hop market, sir?
So this is a problem. This is what we keep telling the Chinese side, that this kind of imbalance is unsustainable.
Yes,
We
absolutely.
can't. And there's another aspect to it which is very worrisome. We have developed very heavy dependency on imports from China in critical areas,
Okay.
like active pharmaceutical
Oh, yes.
ingredients, electronics, equipment for our green energy transition.
Yes.
They're mostly sourced from China.
Yes.
When we set up domestic manufacturing capacity, like solar panels, components are still coming from China. Now, China has an unfortunate track record of weaponizing such dependencies.
That is the problem.
You have seen it. What has happened recently in case of rare earth magnets?
Yeah,
they sort of stop.
They just clamp down.
Clamp down.
Yes, absolutely.
We had same problem with a certain kind of specialty fertilizers. They stopped selling tunnel boring machines to India.
But I think they've now been cleared after.
The point is that in some cases they might have resumed.
Okay.
But in case of say rare earth magnets,
Yes.
they have introduced requirement of end user certificate and extensive documentation, which is very irksome. Plus, the point has been made that this is your vulnerability. We can use it whenever we like.
Squeeze
We
the
can
jugular vein.
Stop the spigot whenever we wish. So we would like to sort of reduce that. It's not going to be easy. Now, one argument which is given that let's take Chinese help to set up manufacturing capabilities of India.
Mm-hmm.
We have in fact tried hard to attract investment from China. I recall when I was in Beijing. Prime Minister had visited in May 2015, and he had made a very strong pitch. He had organized a meeting for him with all top business leaders in Shanghai. He welcomed them to come to India. And we did work very hard to get investment. Unfortunately, what came from China was limited, not much investment. Two, it was in areas which were a little problematic for us, like data-rich areas where we had security concerns. Three, in some areas with very small investment, they could capture a very large segment of market, like cellular handsets. And there was real risk of opportunistic takeover. You'll recall that Press Note 3 was introduced on 17th April 2020 in the aftermath of outbreak of COVID pandemic. Before we had difficulties along the borders. It was not linked to borders.
Much before Galvan.
Yes, before that.
Much more.
So those concerns haven't gone away. I haven't seen any sign of Chinese companies being serious to create meaningful manufacturing capabilities in India. Chinese are extremely careful about exporting technology.
Of course.
Like electric vehicles. They will not export technology to us. Now, we would like to have investment from China, but investment coming in areas of interest to us and also involving some degree of transfer of technology.
Now, sir, what you've said is, I think it's hit the nail on the head. But then when you look at BRICS today, we just spoke about BRICS and now we are talking about SCO. Pakistan is a part of SCO, whereas it is not a part of BRICS. Do you find any, conflict of interest in this, or you don't? So given the Pak-China collusivity, which we all know, I mean, there's nothing to gloss over that.
When we were discussing India's entry into SCO and Pakistan was also joining the same time, so this issue had come up. I happened to be ambassador in Beijing at that time, and we had told them, look here, we are not interested in bringing our bilateral issues to
this forum.
SCO, this forum. We deal with our bilateral problems bilaterally with Pakistan. But there are larger cross-cutting concerns which are not really bilateral. For instance, cross-border terrorism. Now, that's one issue which is at the heart of agenda of SCO. In fact, in some way, that was the basis for establishment of what was initially known as Shanghai 5 and became SCO later. But I'm not sure we'll be able to make any meaningful headway because, China, Pakistan, they work very closely together. What you refer to collusion.
Of course.
You would have seen recent comments by Chinese ambassador to India when this question was posed to him at a public seminar. He said, no, Pakistan is also a victim of terrorism. Our experience is somewhat different. So it does create a problem. But there's a larger issue, Anurag. I mean, this is not just limited to SCO. That while we are trying to rebuild our relations with China, and it's very important for us, as Prime Minister told Foreign Minister Wang Yi, we need, stable, predictable and constructive relations between India and China. But while pursuing that critical agenda, we cannot be unmindful of certain unpalatable truths. And one of them, kind of collusion we witnessed between China and Pakistan during 4-day conflict, which was unprecedented. Operational collaboration, battlefield collusion that took place. So these are issues we need to discuss with China.
You have borders, there are issues of water now, there are issues of Taiwan, the mismatch between what we think and what they think on Taiwan. I mean, the pain points are far too many.
Still, it has been a fraught relationship. It has been a complex relationship. That hasn't prevented us from trying to improve. And that process should continue. But we shouldn't have any illusions.
Yes, of course.
That we can have a major breakthrough in relationship, we can have reset in relations because Prime Minister is meeting with
Yes.
President Xi.
And everything happens in quick
so,
time.
Yeah, so that kind of expectation will be unrealistic and counterproductive.
Of course, both actually counterproductive. So we are looking at now Quad Summit, which is supposed to be held this year, so here in India. And somehow I feel that India is, as you're aware, we are between empires now, sir. So you have China, you have Russia, and you have the United States. So do you think the new Quad is going to be India, China, Russia, and the United States? Do you think it's going to be happening like that? So how do you balance all this? It's going to be one trapeze act which India needs to be doing now.
Yes, I mean it will require very careful navigation of extremely choppy waters today. But it's not that we are facing the worst situation that we've encountered.
Okay.
We have dealt with
worse, actually.
Worse situation.
Of course.
In fact, if you recall, after Pokhran 2,
yes, that was worse.
Kind of pressures we were subjected to by USA working in cohort with China. There was a pincer movement. Even Russia was not being very supportive at that point of time.
Correct.
But we did come out of that. Of course. We came out much stronger from that situation. So let's not, we should have, as I said, strategic clarity about assessment of situation. We should have strategic patience, and we should never, jettison critical, compass of strategic autonomy.
Absolutely.
So if we do that, we'll do all right. So we shouldn't be anxious.
Okay.
And especially, it's very important that as some people are suggesting that, okay, we are facing problems with USA, let's make common cause with China, let's develop some kind of India, China, Russia axis. I think those approaches are not based on realism or a carefully considered strategy. I'm very happy that just a couple of days ago, speaking at the Economic Times Leaders Forum, Dr. Jaishankar made it clear that, look here, we are not seeking good relations with China because of our problems with USA. No. In fact, the process of improvement relations started in October last year. So that has its own bilateral dynamics. We have our own set of concerns and considerations when it comes to engaging with China. And surely, I don't think our leadership is so naive as to think that by moving, closer to China, somehow we'll be able to, address whatever strategic deficit we may have with USA. So that's not going to happen. And actually, if you look at China's relations with the USA today, they are working very seriously on what Mr. Trump calls a beautiful deal with President Xi. China has been given extended trade truce. In some ways, in fact, Mr. Trump has been relatively soft on China. So they are doing their own business. We should monitor that closely. We shouldn't think that difficulties we have with USA answer lies working with other countries.
So there's no offset either way. So I'll ask you, the last question possibly today, sir, and a very direct one. Can the elephant dance with the dragon, sir? By changing its music, by wearing different shoes, by wearing different costumes, by changing the beat, whichever way.
First, let me confess that I don't particularly like this analogy of elephant
And the dragon.
and dragon, dancing together for two reasons. One, it will be very unseemly dance. Can you visualize? It's not going to be beautiful at all. More importantly, it sort of invokes certain memories
Okay.
which are not very comfortable for us.
Right.
Memories of Hindi Chini
Oh, of
bye-bye,
course,
what happened. So let's be realistic. Let's work together without falling for tropes like elephant and
The
dragon
Okay.
dancing together. India and China should have better relations. I have no doubt about it.
Okay.
It's an objective we can achieve only if China is more responsive
Okay.
to our concerns, our interests, our aspirations. If is willing to accept India as a peer nation and not expect us to be some kind of junior partner in an Asia dominated by it, because it will not be acceptable to us. We should keep pushing for developing a paradigm where simultaneous re-emergence of India and China as major powers takes place in a relatively supportive manner.
Yes.
It should certainly not be an adversarial engagement.
Yes.
Yet, the fact remains that if you go by facts on the ground, China is for us the biggest strategic challenge. We cannot,
you cannot wish it away.
Ignore it. Yes. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't seek better relations with China.
Course. That's absolutely profound, sir. So I think the future cannot be inherited anymore. It will have to be negotiated. That's the way I look at it. And what a pleasure it has been, sir, to talk to you on China, and all eyes on Tianjin, sir. And we hope that a lot of good things come out of the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Xi Jinping's talk and meeting on the sidelines of the SCO on the 31st and 1st. And that's all it is. And I think both the great countries, great civilizations should grow together. And it's in everybody's interest, and there's no hyphenation and there's no offsetting either way, whichever way
definitely, I fully agree with you.
And what a great pleasure it has been to be with you, sir, and listen to you always. As always, you're always as erudite and full of knowledge insofar as diplomacy is concerned. 38 years of diplomacy, 38 and a half, I think, sir. That's what it shows. There you go, sir. And what a pleasure, sir. Thank you very much for coming on the show, sir. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.